The Galactic Exchange program had been running for 47 standard years. In all that time, Ambassador Velkara of the Syndicate had never once felt afraid of a human. Until today, the Thalassian cruiser Endless Mercy docked at Orbital Station Kepler 7 on a Tuesday morning, Earth Standard Time. Ambassador Velkara descended the boarding ramp with 3 aides, his bioluminescent throat sac pulsing a calm, diplomatic blue. The station was buzzing with the usual mix of species: Greth merchants with their clicking mandibles, a cluster of tall, silver-skinned Vorith officers, and, of course, humans. Dozens of them, moving in their strange, upright, relentless way. Velkara had studied humans extensively. He found them quaint, soft-bodied, emotionally volatile. The Syndicate files described Earth as a class 4 biosphere, moderate danger rating, nothing remarkable. Humans were a young species, barely 2 centuries into interstellar contact. They were admitted to the Galactic Exchange program mostly out of courtesy. The ambassador's mission today was simple: escort a group of human exchange students aboard the Endless Mercy for a 6-month cultural immersion program. 12 students, ages 16 to 18. Children, essentially. He spotted them immediately near Docking Bay 9, a cluster of young humans in matching gray jackets, clutching datapads and talking over each other. Their human chaperone, a stocky man with a graying beard, waved at Velkara with what the ambassador recognized as a friendly greeting gesture. Ambassador, Jack Mercer, Cultural Liaison, Earth Diplomatic Corps. The man pumped Velkara's secondary hand enthusiastically. Great to finally meet you in person. Likewise, Liaison Mercer. Velkara surveyed the students politely. They looked back at him with a range of expressions: curiosity, nervousness, barely contained excitement. Standard human adolescent responses. His gaze settled on one girl near the back of the group. She stood slightly apart from the others, quietly watching everything with calm, dark eyes. She was unremarkable in appearance: medium height, slim build, brown hair pulled into a practical braid. She held no datapad. Her hands were still. Among the shifting, fidgeting cluster of teenagers, that stillness was the only thing that made Velkara notice her at all. "That student," he said quietly to Jack. "She seems detached." Jack glanced back and smiled. "Oh, that's Sarah. Sarah Okafor. Don't let the quiet fool you. She's one of our best." Velkara filed the information away and thought nothing more of it. The first 2 weeks aboard the Endless Mercy were uneventful. The human students adapted with surprising speed, faster, honestly, than most exchange groups Velkara had hosted. They learned the ship's pressure gradient corridors, adjusted their sleep cycles to Thalassian rotation, and consumed the ship's atmospheric cuisine with what could only be described as aggressive enthusiasm. Sarah remained quiet throughout. She observed. She asked precise questions during cultural briefings, not many, but each one sharp enough that Velkara's cultural officer, Reen, began to look forward to them. She learned 17 words of Thalassian in the first week and used them correctly in context by the second. On the 14th day, the Endless Mercy made a scheduled stop at the Syndicate's research outpost on Meera 9, a dense jungle moon in the Outer Territories. A standard resupply run. The human students were to remain aboard. Sarah did not remain aboard. No one was entirely sure how it happened. The security footage showed her walking calmly toward the cargo bay during the resupply window, slipping through the crowd of dockworkers with fluid ease, and stepping onto the moon's surface as though she had every right to be there. By the time anyone noticed, she had been in the jungle for 40 minutes. Velkara's security chief, Commander Drac, went pale, or the Thalassian equivalent, which involved his throat sac going a deep, alarmed orange. Meera 9 was classified as a Class 7 biosphere. Lethal fauna. Toxic atmosphere without proper filtration. Acidic soil compounds capable of dissolving standard boot material within hours. "She'll be dead within the hour," Drax said flatly. No filtration mask. No weapon. No survival pack. Jack Mercer did not look panicked. He looked, Velkara realized, mildly annoyed. "She does this," Jack said, rubbing his forehead. "She'll be fine. Send a retrieval team if you need to, but I promise you, Sarah will be fine." Velkara sent the retrieval team anyway. They found her 2 kilometers into the jungle, 90 minutes later. She was sitting on a moss-covered rock near a shallow creek. eating something she had apparently caught and cooked over a small fire. She had constructed the fire using materials from the jungle floor. She had filtered the creek water using layers of stripped bark and packed soil. She had fashioned a crude but effective filtration wrap for her face from the fibrous underside of a local leaf, which, the team's biologist noted with visible disbelief, was one of only 3 plant species on Meera, 9 whose secretions were non-toxic. She looked up when the retrieval team arrived, unimpressed by their weapons or their numbers. "The creek bends north about half a kilometer up," she told them. "There's a den of rack scorpions near the eastern embankment. I marked it so you don't walk into it on the way back." The retrieval team leader, a veteran soldier with a decade of field experience across 11 biospheres, stared at her in complete silence for 4 full seconds before he managed to speak. "How?" he said. "Did you know what was edible?" Sarah shrugged. "Watch what was eating what." Cross-referenced with Earth analogs for toxin indicators, color saturation, scent profiles, texture. Tested a small amount on my inner wrist first and waited 12 minutes. "You tested unknown alien plant matter on your skin." "Just a small patch. I have a high tolerance." She stood and brushed off her jacket. "I figured the worst case was localized irritation. Can we go back? I want to finish the Thalassian grammar module before dinner." Back aboard the Endless Mercy, Velcara called Jack Mercer to his office. "Explain," the ambassador said. Jack settled into the chair across from him with the ease of a man who had explained Sarah Okafor many times before. "She grew up in rural northern Canada," he said. "Her parents were wilderness survival instructors. She was tracking, trapping, and field processing game by the time she was 8. At 10, she completed a solo 7-day survival exercise in subarctic conditions. At 12, she helped locate and extract a lost survey team in the Yukon interior. 4 adults, equipment failure, blizzard conditions. She navigated by stars and brought them out." He paused. "She's 16 now." Velcara stared at him. "Earth's Diplomatic Selection Committee sent me a 16-year-old who survived a Class 7 moon on improvised materials in under 2 hours. She's also top of her class in xenolinguistics," Jack added helpfully. The ambassador was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the Syndicate's files on Earth. Class 4 biosphere. Moderate danger rating. He thought about the briefings he had given, describing humans as a young species still finding their footing in the galaxy. He thought about the way Sarah had sat on that rock on Meera, 9, completely calm, eating something she had cooked herself, in an atmosphere that killed unprepared soldiers, on a moon that could dissolve standard-issue boots. "What is Earth's actual danger rating?" Velcara asked quietly. Jack tilted his head. "Class 4. According to Syndicate records." "What would you rate it?" Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, and it was the smile of a man who had thought about this question before and liked the answer. "Most of our planet's landmass has, at some point in history, been considered hostile terrain by human standards," he said. "Ice sheets, deserts, deep jungle, high altitude, tectonic zones. We didn't avoid those places. We moved into them, built cities, raised children." He leaned forward slightly. "The things that live on Earth, the ones that evolved to kill, have been losing to us since before we had writing. We didn't conquer our planet, Ambassador. We domesticated it." Velcara said nothing. Jack stood to leave, then paused at the door. "Sarah asked me to tell you she's sorry for causing trouble with the security team. She genuinely didn't mean to alarm anyone." He considered this. "She just gets restless when there's interesting terrain nearby. It's a reflex." He left. Velcara sat alone in his office for a long time. Then he pulled up the Syndicate's shared intelligence database and, very carefully, began drafting a formal recommendation to revise Earth's biosphere classification. He suggested Class 9. His supervisor sent it back with a note. "Velcara, a Class 9 rating is reserved for extinction event-level ecosystems. Please resubmit with justification." Velcara thought about Sarah Okafor sitting on a rock on Meera, 9, eating alien meat she had cooked herself, telling his soldiers where the scorpion den was. He wrote back, "The justification is the inhabitants." This time, his supervisor did not reply for 3 days. When she did, the new rating came through without further argument. Class 9. Confirmed. Humanity. They built civilization on a death world, and then they sent their children out into the stars. They were never the prey. They were always the apex.